Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. So it's been about almost a month since I did my last presidential election prediction. So in today's video, I will be updating my prediction with the latest new polls and analysis. And I'll be showing you guys what I think will happen as of now, as of April 7th, 2024. There are still around 6 to 7 months left until the election. So I will continue to update this prediction monthly to see where we are at. Without further ado, let's begin with the states that will vote for Republican Donald Trump or Democrat Joe Biden by 12 or more percentage points. To begin with the Democrats, we have all of the West Coast, Illinois, all of these states up the Eastern Coast, New York. We have Maine's 1st District and Hawaii. For Donald Trump's states, the states that will vote for him by 12% or more, of a lot of the Mountain West, Nebraska, except the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, a lot of the Deep South, South Carolina, Indiana, West Virginia, Alaska, and we're going to add Iowa and Ohio. Iowa and Ohio both voted for Trump by around 8 points in 2020, and have been trending rightward in every single election. And this time around, the polls have Iowa and Ohio at around a 10 to 12 point win for Trump, some even higher. So I see Trump winning both by 12 or more points, around that mark. And there's a possibility they could be under 12, but I still think that it is very safe in Trump's column at this point. So next we're going to get to the likely states, the states that will vote for each candidate by 7 to 12%. For Joe Biden, he will win Colorado between 7 and 12. Same thing with New Mexico. With Colorado, it's been a very left-trending state, and I see no reason why Donald Trump will get close to Colorado. In 2020, Biden won Colorado by around 13%. Huge improvement from the previous election where Clinton only won Colorado by around 5. He made huge gains basically everywhere in the state. And I don't see any reason why Colorado will make too much of a turn to the right. I do think obviously it will be closer since the general election, the national average will get more Republican, but it'll still be a very Democrat state. Same thing with New Mexico. Biden had expanded on Clinton's lead by a little bit, winning the state by around 8 to 9. And I see the state staying at relatively where it is last time, about a 7-point win for Biden this time around. For Trump, he has two main likely states, Texas and Florida. When it comes to Texas, he won by around 6% last time around, and he was able to keep the state from shifting too far to the right due to a lot of these Hispanic trends in the southern part of the state, the Rio Grande Valley. Joe Biden made a lot of gains in Collin, Denton County, as well as Tarrant and Dallas counties. But he did not make too much gains around Harris County, where Houston is, as well as San Antonio. So I do see Trump continue to make gains among Hispanics, while Biden's going to max out a lot of his support. And since he is so unpopular in Texas, I think Trump's going to expand on his lead from last time. He had won by around 9 points in 2016. I don't see him winning by that much, but I see him winning the state by around 7 points or maybe 8. And the polls currently have Texas around that average, around an 8-point win for him. When it comes to Florida, Florida's a state that one of the only 8 states that Trump was able to shift to the right. He won it more than what he won it by in 2016, by around 3 to 4 points. And this is because of Hispanic trends in South Florida. Miami-Dade shifted 22 points to the right from 2016 to 2020. And in 2022, both Marco Rubio and Ron DeSantis won Miami-Dade and were able to win the states by 16 and 19 points respectively. There is no argument that Florida is going to shift back to the left. It will continue shifting to the right. Polls have Florida at around 6 to 10 point win. So I'm going to give Joe Biden the benefit of the doubt and put it on the lower end, around a 7-point win for Trump, possibly an 8-point win. There isn't really too much polling to go off of because the state is just so safe for Donald Trump. So we're going to characterize it as a likely state for Donald Trump. So now let's get into the states that are going to be lean for Joe Biden or lean for Donald Trump. Before we continue further, let's look at the 2024 general election polls where Donald Trump still has a lead of 1.1% nationally. At this time in 2020, Biden had a 6.1% lead and Clinton had a 10.5% lead, greatly overestimating Democrat support. If we put those shifts back into 2024, Trump will have a much bigger lead nationally. Although it has been tightening over the past month quite a little bit. Last month when I did this prediction, Trump had around a 2-point lead. That's been almost cut in half to a 1-point lead. So it's definitely getting closer and nationally, but that does not mean it's the same thing for each individual state, as Trump has continued having his very, very impressive leads in most of these swing states. And if we head to Joe Biden's approval rating, it has stayed very the same, very unpopular president, around a 41% approval rating, back and forth between 39 to 41. Some polls have it at 37, others have it at 43. Either way, it is very low, a lot lower than Trump's at the same time, and Obama's and Bush's. Definitely one of the lowest approval ratings since Carter in 1976, when he lost his re-election in 1980 to Ronald Reagan by a landslide. Anyways, so some of the lean states for Joe Biden, he has quite a few. Virginia's the first one. In 2020, Biden won Virginia by around 10 points. Very historic win for Democrats, shifting a lot of the Nova area and the Southeast heavily towards Democrats and cementing Democrat support in the state. However, in 2024, the polls that we do have show this race a lot tighter than it was in 2020. And similar to how much Hillary Clinton won the state in 2016, up only 4.7% and consistently leading by around that margin since last year, with Biden still being up in Virginia by a solid amount. This leads me to put Virginia in the lean column. I think he'll win by around 5 points, similar to Hillary Clinton, maybe up to 6, but for now, I think 5. Next, we got Minnesota. In 2020, Biden was able to very much capitalize on Minnesota and expand his margins very much in the Minneapolis suburbs, shifting some of these counties close to 10 points and winning the state by around 7 points. Hillary Clinton only won by 1.5%. And I think this time around, Minnesota will shift a little bit more to the right, but not too much, keeping Minnesota, in my opinion, at around a 5-point win for Joe Biden. And there isn't much polling, but the polling that we do have shows Biden only up by 3%. Still, I think he's going to win by more than 3%, but not in the likely column. So keeping it in the lean column. A couple more states for Biden in the lean column. New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a state where Joe Biden is definitely performing well. One of the states that he is keeping his margins very high, but still not enough to be considered likely. I think he'll win the state by around 6 points, keeping it in the lean state as the polls have showed us. And with Maine at large is very odd in that it shows a very strong performance for Donald Trump. There's a poll that had him up by 6, but I do not believe that poll is true since there were so many undecideds. However, I think if RFK is going to make it on the ballot in Maine, it's going to hurt Biden a lot, and a lot of people are going to vote third party. However, I do still see Joe Biden winning Maine at large by around 4 to 5 points. And I forgot to mention, Donald Trump's going to win the 2nd district comfortably by around 10 points. The last single electoral vote that will go in Biden's lean column is Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. Some can argue that Trump could take it back, but I don't think so. I think the trends in Nebraska's 2nd district favor Democrats very heavily, and Joe Biden, I think, in my opinion, will keep the district in his column. Now we're going to go to the remaining states, the states that will definitely decide the election, starting with two states that I think right now are considered lean Republican, falling between 2 to 7%, but much closer to that 2%, starting with North Carolina. In 2020, North Carolina got a little bit closer than what it was in 2016, but Trump was still able to win by around 1.5 points, keeping a lot of his margins relatively stable and improving in the northern part and the southern part, while Biden continued to make gains around Charlotte and the Research Triangle in the center of the state. The polls right now in North Carolina favor Trump vastly, having him up 4.6%, with Biden not leading a single poll from this year. So this cements me to keep North Carolina in the lean Trump state. Trump, I think, will win similar to his 2016 margins by around 2 to 3%. I think 3%. And in Georgia, Georgia is a state that Biden narrowly won in 2020. Why was he able to do this? Because of huge turnout among African American groups and a huge shift among the suburbs in Biden's favor. This time around, however, the polls are saying a vastly different story. Trump is up 3.8% on average in Georgia, and same with North Carolina. Biden has not led a single poll since 2022. And this says a lot about Georgia. This says that Georgians are not going to turn out for Joe Biden like they did in 2020, especially a lot of African Americans. And I think right now Trump is favored very heavily in Georgia and is going to win by around 2 percentage points. Now to the remaining states, these states are going to be very, very close, and they could go either way. So that's why they're all going to be put in the tilt category. They're going to go by one of these candidates by less than 2%, and ultimately will decide the victor of this election. We're going to go from west to east, starting with Nevada. In Nevada, the polls very much favor Donald Trump, as Joe Biden has also not led a single poll since a very long time ago. Trump leads by 3.2% on average. And in 2020, Nevada was very close, and Nevada didn't change at all from 2016, even though the state as a whole trended left. The biggest county by far, Clark County, actually trended right. And that leads me this time to believe that Donald Trump will narrowly flip Nevada, the first time that a Nevada has been Republican since 2004. Going down to Arizona, Arizona was a big win for Biden in 2020, flipping Maricopa County and winning the state by around 11,000 votes, one of the closest states. And Trump has a very consistent 4.5% lead in Arizona. I think Donald Trump right now is favored in Arizona. I think he's going to win by around a point, similar to Nevada. And some may say that Nevada is going to vote to the right of Arizona this time around. I see them voting very much in line and will be similar margins to each other. Moving up to the Midwest, we come to the final 3 states that will decide this election. Right now, Trump is at 268, Biden at 226. Donald Trump only needs one of these states to win the election, while Biden needs all 3 to be able to barely clinch the race. Starting in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, the polls are a dead heat right now, with Trump up 0.6%. It's been very much back and forth, Trump leading in some, Biden barely leading in others. There's a tie in many, but if we go back in history in Wisconsin, Biden only won the state by 0.7. Meanwhile, the polls thought he was going to win by 6.7%. The last poll in 2020 had Biden up 8 in the state, vastly overestimating him. Same thing in 2016. Democrats, Clinton was supposed to win by 6.5%. Trump ended up clinching the state by 0.7%. So there's a common theme in Wisconsin that Republicans are always, especially Donald Trump. Donald Trump is underestimated severely in Wisconsin. And in 2020, Wisconsin voted for Joe Biden by the skin of his teeth to only 20,000 votes. And the state itself trended very much evenly in many areas. Of course, Joe Biden was able to make gains in heavily Democrat areas, such as Dane and Milwaukee, while making gains in Ozaukee, Washington, and Waukesha counties. And these 3 counties are very important for Republicans. And if Republicans don't cement their support in these 3 counties, it could spell trouble for them. But since Biden is so unpopular and since Trump is actually leading in the state, right now, I see Wisconsin as around a 1-point win for Donald Trump. In Michigan, Joe Biden was able to win Michigan by around 2.5%, expanding a lot of Clinton's leads in Oakland County, and especially in Grand Rapids and the suburbs around Grand Rapids. But in the polls, surprisingly, despite Michigan being the most left-leaning state out of the 3 states in the Rust Belt, it's the most Trump favorable in the polls, and has been the whole cycle, as Biden has not led a single poll this year. Trump has led every single one of them, and the other ones that have been a dead heat tie at 50-50, 45-45. So this is a very, very, very odd occurrence that the state that is the most liberal leaning has the most favorable polls towards Donald Trump. This time around, I think Michigan will vote less than a point in Donald Trump's favor. And keep in mind, things could change. But from my last prediction, a lot of the polls in these states that I've already covered have stayed relatively similar, and Trump still holds pretty decent leads in all of them. But now to the last state, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has been back and forth, but currently Joe Biden has a 0.1% lead only because of this Biden plus 10 poll. If we check to other polls that have been released, it's been very back and forth, very different from Michigan, and very surprising that Joe Biden is performing a lot better in a state he won more narrowly. In 2020, Biden was able to win Pennsylvania by about a state, making up a lot of ground in northern, especially northeastern Pennsylvania, where he's from and where he was born, as well as slight gains in the Philadelphia suburbs, while Trump continued to make slight gains in western Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a really, really, really tough race to call since it is so tight in the polls. But right now, I'm going to slightly give it to Joe Biden by the skin of his teeth, around less than a point, less than 0.5% in my opinion. But it could really go either way. Pennsylvania is a 50-50 in my eyes right now, but I'm going to give it to Joe Biden. 293 for Donald Trump, 245 for Joe Biden. Donald Trump wins the election by flipping Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, and Wisconsin, while Joe Biden holds on to Pennsylvania for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video, and I'll check you guys in the next video.